Suddenly, a secret audio recording falls into Amy Roloff's hands. The recording reveals a shocking conversation. Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler are plotting to illegally transfer ownership of the family farm. Even more startling, the audio clearly confirms that Matt has already transferred full ownership of Roloff Farms to Karen Chandler. As soon as the recording becomes public, chaos erupts within the Roloff family. Tensions rise, divisions form, and the business empire Matt and Karen built over the years begins to collapse overnight. Based on the audio evidence, serious allegations are brought against Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler: embezzlement of farm funds, tax evasion, and breach of contract. Soon after, Amy Roloff and Zach Roloff take legal action. They formally file a lawsuit against Matt and Karen in court. After a lengthy investigation and multiple hearings, the court finds the allegations to be true. Ultimately, Matt Roloff faces a state prosecution for tax evasion and financial fraud. According to the court's verdict, Matt Roloff is sentenced to 6 months in prison. Let's start from the beginning. It was late September, harvest season. The pumpkin fields were full, the visitors smiling, and the cameras rolling. But behind the scenes, tension thickened like the fog that settled over the farm every morning. Matt was focused almost obsessively on expanding Roloff Farms' operations. He talked about new ownership structures and tax efficiency, words that confused Amy and worried Zach. "Dad's acting strange lately," Zach muttered one evening to his wife, Tori. "He keeps locking his office door, and Karen's always there, late into the night." Rumors spread among the farm staff. Some said Matt was preparing to sell off part of the property. Others whispered that Karen was slowly taking control of everything: finances, legal paperwork, even marketing decisions. But no one imagined what was truly happening. Meanwhile, Amy tried to stay out of it. She had her own bakery business, her motivational speaking events, and her engagement to Chris Marek. She wanted peace, not more drama. Until one night, while attending a small charity dinner, Amy overheard something that froze her in place. Two men at the next table were discussing Roloff Farms, not as fans, but as investors. Greater than Matt already moved the title, right? Yeah, Karen's name is on it now. She technically owns the whole thing. Amy's fork slipped from her hand. The metallic clang echoed louder than the music. Her mind went blank, the words repeating in her head like thunder. Karen's name is on it now. That couldn't be true. Could it? Later that night, as she sat alone in her kitchen, Amy couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. That was when she noticed the small package at her doorstep, the one that would confirm her worst fears. A single flash drive, unmarked, waiting. When she finally pressed play, her heart stopped. Matt's voice came first, calm, deliberate. "No one can trace it back to us. The paperwork's already done." Then Karen's voice, low and firm. "Greater than good. Once the farm's under my name, everything else falls into place." The words hung in the air like a sentence waiting to be carried out. Amy sat frozen, tears filling her eyes. The family legacy, the land where her children grew up, had been transferred without her knowledge. In that moment, she knew this was no misunderstanding. This was betrayal. The night after hearing the recording, Amy couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Matt's voice again. Calm, confident, guilty. Greater than the paperwork's already done. Once the farm's under my name, everything else falls into place. Those words cut through her like glass. At dawn, she sat by her kitchen window, staring at the rising sun over the Oregon hills. The same hills she and Matt once dreamed of turning into a family legacy. Now that legacy felt poisoned. Chris Marek, her husband, found her still in her robe, laptop open, coffee untouched. He asked gently, "Amy, what's wrong?" She hesitated. She didn't want to believe what she'd heard. Finally, she whispered, "Someone sent me something, and it changes everything." Amy played the recording for him. The moment Karen's voice filled the room, Chris's jaw tightened. "Greater than this is serious," he said. "If this is real, Matt could be in a lot of trouble." Amy knew he was right, but she also knew the implications. This wasn't just about money. It was about family, legacy, and trust. Her mind raced back to years earlier, when she and Matt co-owned Roloff Farms. The divorce settlement had divided assets carefully, and although Matt managed the daily operations, major ownership decisions required mutual agreement. If he had transferred ownership to Karen without legal notice, it wasn't just betrayal, it was fraud. Amy decided to verify it herself. She drove straight to the Washington County Land Registry office. Her hands shook as she filled out the form requesting property ownership documents. The clerk typed a few keys, frowned, and turned the screen slightly toward her. "Amy Roloff, right?" She nodded. "Well, according to the system, Roloff Farms is now registered under Karen Chandler Holdings LLC." Amy felt her heart drop. It was real. Matt had actually done it. She stared at the screen in disbelief, the lines of text blurring through her tears. Years of memories, planting pumpkins with the kids, filming family dinners, celebrating birthdays, all of it felt stolen. On the drive home, Amy's emotions swung between heartbreak and fury. How could Matt do this? How could he hand over the farm, their family story, to someone else? That evening, she called Zach. Her voice trembled. "Zach, honey, there's something I need to show you." When Zach heard the recording and saw the documents, his face turned pale. "Greater than Mom, this can't be real. Dad wouldn't." "He did," Amy interrupted softly. "And we have proof." Silence filled the room. Zach looked out the window toward the farm, the place where he'd learned to drive, where he'd worked every fall. Now it wasn't theirs anymore. Amy knew the next step was unavoidable. This wasn't just a family argument anymore. It was a crime, and she was ready to expose it. The next morning, Amy sat at the dining table with her laptop open, the flash drive plugged in. The recording was still there, cold, undeniable proof of what Matt and Karen had done. For hours, she replayed it, documenting every word, every pause, every incriminating phrase. She knew this couldn't stay hidden. Not anymore. Zach joined her later that morning, his expression a mix of disbelief and quiet rage. "Greater than Mom, we can't let them get away with this," he said. "I know," Amy replied, "but we have to be careful. This isn't just a family issue now, it's legal." Together, they transcribed the entire recording word for word. Zach's fingers shook as he typed. Amy occasionally paused the playback to wipe away tears. "Greater than Matt. Once the paperwork clears, Karen, you'll have full control. No one can challenge it." Karen. What about Amy? She'll find out eventually. Matt, by then, it'll be too late. The words hit Amy like a dagger. Too late. He had planned everything, even her silence. Zach pushed his chair back, furious. Greater than he used to tell us this place was about family, about legacy, and now he's turned it into a business scam? Amy stayed quiet, her heart breaking. All she could whisper was, "I never thought he'd do this." They knew the next step would be risky, but truth had to come out. That afternoon, Amy called her longtime friend and Little People, Big World producer, Sarah Michaels. Sarah had been part of the show since its early seasons and cared deeply about the Roloffs. When Amy explained what she discovered, Sarah was stunned. "Greater than Amy, if this is real, it's explosive. Are you sure you want to go public?" "I don't want revenge," Amy said softly. "I just want justice." Sarah promised to help discreetly. She connected Amy with a legal advisor and also alerted a trusted journalist who covered Oregon real estate corruption cases. By the next morning, whispers had already started spreading online. Fans noticed Amy and Zach had unfollowed Matt and Karen on social media. Speculation exploded. Is there trouble at Roloff Farms? Did Matt sell the land? Why is Amy so quiet lately? Then it happened. A small news blog received the leaked audio from an anonymous source, likely someone close to production. Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Headlines flooded Twitter and Reddit. Roloff farm ownership scandal. Secret audio leaked. Did Matt Roloff commit fraud? Amy and Zach watched in silence as the world reacted. Disbelief, anger, heartbreak. The fans who once adored Matt were now demanding answers. Meanwhile, at Roloff Farms, Matt's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Producers, lawyers, reporters, even the county tax office. For the first time in years, Matt Roloff looked genuinely shaken. Because this time, the cameras weren't his friends. They were witnesses. The morning after the leak, chaos erupted across the Roloff family group chat. Calls, messages, missed video invites. Everyone wanted answers, but no one wanted to face the truth. Amy sat on her couch, clutching her phone, watching messages flood in. Zach had already texted, "Dad's calling. Don't answer until we talk first." Matt, meanwhile, was pacing across the living room of the farmhouse. Karen sat beside him, nervously scrolling through her phone as reporters gathered outside the gate. "How the hell did this get out?" Matt snapped. "I don't know, Matt. You said everything was secure." Karen fired back. "We followed the plan. Someone must have leaked it." Inside, panic began to set in. Matt had been through family fights before, divorces, business disputes, even fan backlash. But this was different. This was criminal. By noon, Zach finally called his father. The line connected. Silence. Then Zach's voice broke through, low and angry. "Greater than Dad, tell me it's not true." Matt hesitated. His voice trembled slightly. "Greater than Zach, you don't understand. This was a business decision. Karen and I." "A business decision?" Zach interrupted sharply. "You stole our family farm. You lied to Mom. You lied to everyone." Amy could hear Zach's voice echoing across the room. Tears welled up in her eyes. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was betrayal in real time. Matt raised his voice. "I built this farm. I kept it alive when no one else cared. Don't lecture me about loyalty." "Greater than loyalty?" Zach snapped. "You didn't build this alone. We all worked for it. You just gave it away." Karen tried to intervene. "Greater than Zach, calm down. Don't talk to me," he shouted. "You have no right to even be part of this conversation." The call ended abruptly. Amy buried her face in her hands. The silence afterward was heavier than any words spoken. Later that evening, Tori posted a short cryptic Instagram story. "Family isn't about blood. It's about honesty." The internet exploded again. Fans began taking sides, some defending Matt, others standing firmly with Amy and Zach. Within hours, the story had reached major outlets like People and Entertainment Tonight. Matt's public image, once that of a hardworking, loving father, was crumbling. And behind every headline, the family's private pain grew deeper. By nightfall, Amy knew there was no turning back. The secret was out. The family was divided. And the fight for Roloff Farms had only just begun. The scandal hit like a storm no one could control. Within 48 hours of the audio leak, Roloff Farms Incorporated lost half its sponsorship deals. Tour bookings plummeted. Brand partners suspended their contracts pending investigation. For the first time in its history, the farm, once a symbol of unity and perseverance, became a battlefield of distrust. Matt sat in his office surrounded by legal papers and unread emails. Every call from his lawyer began the same way. "Matt, we have a problem." The county's Financial Crimes Division had already launched an inquiry into the farm's transactions. Reporters camped outside the main gate, drones hovered above the property, and even former employees started talking. "Greater than he made us sign documents we didn't understand," one former accountant told the Oregon Chronicle. "I think Karen handled more money than anyone realized." Meanwhile, Karen tried to keep up appearances. She smiled on social media, posting pictures of sunsets and family dinners, pretending everything was fine. But behind the scenes, panic was setting in. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Lawyers, investors, and angry fans. "Greater than Matt," she said one night, voice shaking. "They're saying I forged documents. This could ruin me." "Nobody can prove that," Nat replied, though even he didn't sound convinced. Across town, Amy and Zach were meeting with their attorney, Rachel Flynn, a sharp-tongued corporate lawyer with a reputation for taking down corrupt businesses. Rachel listened to the audio file twice, then looked up. "Greater than this isn't just unethical," she said. "It's illegal. What Matt did qualifies as unauthorized transfer of shared assets." Amy exhaled shakily. "Can we stop it?" Rachel nodded. "We can fight it. But once this hits the state's financial office, it's out of your hands. They'll investigate everything: taxes, land deeds, even the farm's income records." And that's exactly what happened. Days later, the Oregon Department of Revenue issued a statement confirming a formal audit of Roloff Farms. News outlets ran headlines nonstop. Roloff Farms under state investigation for fraud and tax evasion. Matt Roloff facing legal scrutiny over secret ownership transfer. Inside the farmhouse, Matt's frustration boiled over. "This is getting out of control. They're twisting everything." "No, Matt," Karen said quietly. "They're exposing everything." The empire he had built, with his own hands and dreams, was falling apart faster than he could contain it. Pumpkin season was canceled. Staff resigned. Sponsors withdrew. Amy watched it all unfold with mixed emotions. Sadness, relief, justice. Because deep down, she had never wanted this to happen. But she also knew it was the only way the truth could come out. The Roloff family wasn't just fractured anymore. It was collapsing. Brick by brick, dollar by dollar. And Matt Roloff was standing at the center of the wreckage. By the end of the week, the Roloff scandal had left the quiet town of Hillsboro unrecognizable. Cameras lined the roads outside the farm. Reporters stood near the iconic red barn, speaking into microphones as though covering a national crime story. "This isn't just a family dispute," said one reporter from KATU News. "Authorities are now investigating whether tax fraud and embezzlement took place at one of Oregon's most famous family farms." The headlines spread everywhere: "Little people, big scandal. Matt Roloff accused of financial misconduct." Fans turn on TLC star after audio leak. Matt Roloff, once a symbol of hard work and resilience, had become a trending topic for all the wrong reasons. Online petitions called for TLC to suspend Little People, Big World. Sponsors quietly pulled out. Even longtime fans flooded the show's social pages with angry comments. "Greater than how could you do this to Amy and the kids? We supported this family for years. Now it feels like a lie." Karen Chandler avoided leaving the house. Paparazzi camped outside her driveway. Whenever she went out, cameras flashed and microphones followed. "Karen, did you forge the documents? Are you involved in Matt's fraud?" She said nothing. Her silence only fueled more suspicion. Meanwhile, Amy and Zach stayed quiet publicly, on their lawyer's advice. But privately, Amy's heart ached. Every night she'd scroll through comments, reading fans' messages of support and outrage. Some defended her strength. Others demanded she speak her truth. Chris tried to comfort her. "Greater than you don't owe anyone a statement right now," he said gently. "Maybe not," Amy replied, "but people deserve to know what really happened." At TLC headquarters, executives held an emergency meeting. The show was their long-running success story. Now it was a legal nightmare. Several producers argued to continue filming, calling it historic television. Others warned it could destroy the network's credibility. By Monday, a decision was made. Production paused indefinitely. It was the first time in the show's nearly two-decade history that cameras stopped rolling. For Matt, the silence was unbearable. He tried to issue a public statement through his lawyer, calling the audio manipulated and taken out of context. But the damage was done. Within hours, fact-checkers confirmed the recording's authenticity through digital forensics. Now, it wasn't just social media turning against him. It was the law. An official subpoena arrived at Roloff Farms that same afternoon. The state was demanding financial records, tax filings, and ownership contracts. As Matt read the notice, the cameras outside kept flashing. But this time, there were no scripts, no edits, no second takes. This was real. And for the first time in his life, Matt Roloff couldn't control the story. For days, Amy tried to avoid the spotlight. She ignored reporters, shut off her phone, and stayed away from social media. But deep inside, she knew silence couldn't last forever. Each new headline cut deeper. Matt Roloff under criminal investigation. Karen Chandler's hidden financial role exposed. Amy couldn't stand by and watch the family name drown in scandal, especially when she knew the truth. So, she called Zach. "Greater than honey, I think it's time," she said quietly. "Time for what?" "To take a stand." Zach didn't hesitate. He had spent weeks replaying that recording in his mind, hearing his father's voice plot behind the family's back. The anger he once tried to bury had now turned into resolve. They met at Amy's home the next morning. Stacks of documents covered the kitchen table, property deeds, financial statements, and printed transcripts of the leaked audio. Their lawyer, Rachel Flynn, sat across from them, flipping through each page methodically. "Greater than you have everything we need," Rachel said finally. "We can build a solid case for fraudulent asset transfer, tax evasion, and breach of fiduciary duty." Amy's hands trembled. "Will this put him in jail?" Rachel looked up. "If the state prosecutor agrees with our evidence, yes, it could." The weight of those words hit hard. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was family. A father, a son, an ex-wife, now divided by law and betrayal. That evening, Amy made a public statement for the first time. Standing on her front porch, with cameras flashing and microphones pointed toward her, she spoke firmly but tearfully. "Greater than this has been an incredibly painful time for our family. I love my children, and I want the truth to come out. For them, for the farm, and for everyone who believed in us." She didn't mention Matt by name, but everyone understood who she meant. The next day, Zach filed an official civil complaint in Washington County Court alongside his mother. The lawsuit named Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler as co-defendants, alleging conspiracy, financial misconduct, and illegal property transfer. The media went into a frenzy. For the first time, the Roloff family wasn't united in front of cameras. They were opposing each other in court. Matt was served the legal papers in his own driveway. He stood there silently, envelope in hand, watching the officers drive away. Karen whispered, "What are we going to do now?" Matt didn't answer. He just stared toward the fields, the same fields that had once built his dreams, and said softly, "It's all gone." The day the lawsuit was filed, Oregon's courthouse was swarmed with flashing cameras, microphones, and stunned fans. No one had ever imagined the beloved little people, big world family would one day stand on opposite sides of a courtroom. Inside, the air felt heavy, thick with tension and betrayal. Amy sat beside her attorney, Rachel Flynn, her face calm but pale. Zach sat next to her, his fists clenched tightly on his lap. Across the aisle, Matt and Karen whispered to their legal team, avoiding eye contact. The courtroom clerk read the case title aloud. Amy Roloff and Zach Roloff versus Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler. Civil action number 241671. That single sentence made history. Amy's lawyer stood first. Her voice was steady, every word cutting like glass. "Greater than your honor, this case concerns the illegal transfer of ownership of Roloff Farms, a multi-million-dollar family asset, executed without the consent of co-owner Amy Roloff. The defendants, Mr. Matt Roloff and Ms. Karen Chandler, conspired to move property titles and funds through undisclosed channels to evade both taxes and contractual obligations. Murmurs filled the courtroom. Matt's attorney, John Peters, quickly objected. These allegations are baseless. The recording was obtained unlawfully and taken out of context. But the judge, a stern-faced woman named Judge Caroline Hunt, wasn't moved. The recording will be reviewed in chambers, she said firmly. If authentic, it will be admissible. As the evidence played, the room fell silent. Matt's voice echoed through the speakers, cold and confident. Greater than no one can trace it back to us. The paperwork's already done. Currents followed, trembling slightly. Once it's under my name, everything falls into place. Every juror's expression shifted. Some frowned, others looked shocked. Amy couldn't bear to watch Matt's face, but she could feel his shame in the silence that followed. Outside, reporters captured every detail. Headlines screamed within hours. Roloff family faces court over farm fraud. Secret audio admitted as evidence in shocking case. Fans gathered outside holding signs, some reading justice for Amy and others pleading save Roloff Farms. That evening, TLC issued a statement confirming production on the show was suspended pending the outcome of ongoing legal matters. Matt returned home that night to an empty farmhouse. Karen tried to comfort him, but his eyes were hollow. "They've turned the world against me," he muttered. "No," Karen whispered. "You did this to yourself." The empire was no longer just crumbling, it was burning. And the courtroom fire had only just begun. The first week of the trial drew national attention. Reporters filled the benches, legal experts dissected every testimony on morning shows, and fans across America watched as the Roloff family's private war became public history. Inside courtroom 4B, tension hung so thick it was almost physical. Matt Roloff sat stiffly at the defense table, his tie slightly crooked, his eyes darting toward Amy every few minutes. Amy avoided looking back. The prosecution, representing Amy and Zach, opened with evidence that stunned even the judge. Dozens of bank transfers, LLC filings, and property records showed how Matt had quietly moved funds into shell accounts under Karen Chandler's control. Rachel Flynn, Amy's lawyer, laid it out with surgical precision. "Your Honor, these transactions occurred over a 2-year span, each coinciding with revenue from Roloff Farms' seasonal earnings. The funds were then redirected through Karen Chandler Holdings LLC, effectively concealing assets from taxation and co-owner consent." Amy sat motionless. Hearing the words "concealing assets" hit her harder than she expected. She remembered every year she'd helped plant pumpkins, run tours, smile for fans, and now those memories felt tainted. Then came the most explosive moment, the audio playback. Once again, the courtroom fell silent. The voices of Matt and Karen echoed across the walls. "Matt, once the paperwork clears, Karen, you'll have full control." "Karen, what about Amy?" "Matt, by then, it'll be too late." The sound of Amy's quiet sob broke the silence. Even some jurors shifted uncomfortably. When it was Matt's turn to testify, he looked older, defeated yet defensive. "Greater than your honor," he began. "I never intended to hurt anyone. I was restructuring for efficiency. I've poured my life into that farm." Rachel didn't let up. "Greater than then why transfer full ownership to Ms. Chandler without informing your ex-wife and co-owner?" Matt hesitated. "Because she understands the business better than Amy does." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Amy closed her eyes, the wound reopening. Next, Karen took the stand. She tried to appear composed but faltered under questioning. "Did you sign any documents knowing they were tied to hidden assets?" Rachel pressed. "No, I trusted Matt," Karen stammered. Her hesitation was enough. The judge took note. As the day ended, reporters swarmed outside, declaring it one of the most dramatic courtroom confrontations in reality TV history. Inside, Amy remained quiet. She didn't smile, didn't cry, she just whispered to Zach, "Whatever happens now, we told the truth." The battle was fierce, and the verdict was still days away. But everyone knew, no matter what the court decided, the Roloff family would never be the same again. By the third week of the trial, the tension in courtroom 4B had reached its breaking point. Reporters called it the Roloff Reckoning. Every word spoken under oath now carried the weight of years of secrets and a family legacy hanging by a thread. The prosecution began the day with a surprise witness, Mark Allen, a former Roloff Farms accountant who had resigned 2 years earlier under mysterious circumstances. Mark stepped up to the stand, nervous but determined. "I worked for Matt for 7 years," he began. "And in the last 2, things changed. Karen started attending financial meetings, ones Amy was never invited to. I was told to move certain funds into new accounts for confidentiality reasons." Rachel Flynn leaned forward. "Did Mr. Roloff ever explain what those accounts were for?" "No," Mark replied, "but I later found the transfers linked to Karen Chandler Holdings LLC. When I questioned it, Matt told me to mind my own business." Gasps filled the room. Matt looked down, his hands trembling. Then came the final blow. The Oregon Department of Revenue had completed its forensic audit, and their lead investigator took the stand. She confirmed what Amy had feared all along. Roloff Farms' income had been misreported for 2 consecutive years, and over $480,000 had been diverted into private accounts. The courtroom erupted. Judge Hunt slammed her gavel. "Order. I will have order in this courtroom." When the noise settled, Rachel turned toward Matt. "Mr. Roloff, do you deny that these funds were redirected under your authorization?" Matt swallowed hard. "I didn't think it would go this far. I was trying to protect the business." "By breaking the law?" Rachel pressed. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Karen looked away. Amy sat motionless, her fingers gripping a folded napkin. Years of love, work, and sacrifice flashed through her mind and ended in the single moment of painful truth. Judge Hunt recessed the court for the day, but her expression said everything. She had heard enough. Outside, the media frenzy exploded again. Breaking news alerts lit up screens. State audit confirms financial fraud at Roloff Farms. Matt Roloff faces potential criminal charges. As Amy and Zach left the courthouse surrounded by cameras, a reporter shouted, "Amy, do you feel vindicated?" She paused briefly, looked at the cameras, and said quietly, "Greater than this was never about revenge. It was about the truth." And now that truth, undeniable, painful, and final, had come out for the world to see. The next hearing, the judge announced, would determine Matt Roloff's fate. The courthouse was silent that morning, a silence thick with expectation. Dozens of reporters waited outside in the rain, cameras ready to capture the verdict that would decide the fate of Matt Roloff, the man who had once symbolized family and perseverance. Inside, the tension was suffocating. Amy sat beside Zach, her hands clasped tightly around a small cross necklace. Across the aisle, Matt entered with Karen at his side, looking weary and defeated. The confident smile he once wore to every public event was gone. His shoulders drooped, and his eyes avoided Amy's. Judge Caroline Hunt entered promptly at 9:00 a.m. Her expression was calm, but her tone was grave. "This court has reviewed all evidence, witness testimony, and forensic financial reports regarding Roloff Farms and the alleged fraudulent transfer of assets." She paused, flipping through her notes. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. "Mr. Roloff," she continued, "this court finds sufficient evidence that you intentionally transferred ownership of Roloff Farms to Karen Chandler Holdings LLC without proper disclosure, thereby violating state property laws, breaching fiduciary duty, and engaging in tax evasion." Matt closed his eyes. Karen's hand tightened around his arm. Amy looked down, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. Judge Hunt went on, her voice steady. Therefore, the court rules in favor of the plaintiffs, Amy and Zach Roloff. The property transfer is hereby nullified. Full ownership of Roloff Farms shall be restored under legal trust pending reallocation. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Amy pressed her hand to her mouth. She hadn't expected to win everything back. Zach leaned over and whispered, "We did it, Mom." But the judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, due to the discovery of fraudulent intent and tax evasion, the state prosecution will move forward. Mr. Matt Roloff, you are sentenced to 6 months in state custody with probation to follow. The courtroom fell utterly silent. Matt's jaw clenched as he stood, his voice breaking. "Your Honor, please, I never meant to hurt my family." Judge Hunt looked at him firmly. "Sometimes, Mr. Roloff, it's not about what you meant. It's about what you did." The gavel struck once. The decision was final. Outside, reporters swarmed the courthouse steps. Fans cried. Some cheered. Some simply stood in disbelief. Amy made no grand statement. She simply walked past the cameras, whispering to Zach, "Let's go home." That evening, as the Oregon sky faded to gold, Matt Roloff was escorted away, not as a TV star or a farm builder, but as a man finally facing justice for the choices he could no longer hide. The day after the verdict, Hillsborough felt eerily quiet. The crowds had left, the news vans were gone, and the once bustling Roloff Farms sat still under a gray Oregon sky. For the first time in years, there were no cameras, no film crews, no smiling tourists. Just silence. Amy stood by the old red barn, her coat fluttering in the wind. She traced her fingers along the wooden fence, memories flooding back. Birthday parties, family photos, harvest seasons, laughter. All of it felt distant now, like echoes from another lifetime. Chris approached from behind, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" Amy nodded faintly. "I thought I'd feel happy, but it just feels heavy." "Justice doesn't always feel like victory," he said quietly. Across town, Zach and Tori sat in their living room, watching the evening news recap. A photo of Matt being escorted from court flashed on the screen, followed by a headline, "Roloff Patriarch begins 6-month sentence." Tori sighed. "It's hard to believe that's your dad." Zach didn't respond right away. His eyes were fixed on the screen. "He's still my dad," he said finally. "I just wish he hadn't let greed ruin everything." Meanwhile, Karen Chandler vanished from public view. Her social media accounts were deleted, her business quietly dissolved. Tabloids reported that she had left Oregon to start over, though no one knew where. For years, she had dreamed of being part of the Roloff empire, and now she was its ghost. At TLC headquarters, executives met one last time to discuss the show's future. After nearly 20 seasons, Little People, Big World was officially canceled. The network released a brief statement. "Greater than we are grateful for the Roloff family's story and wish them healing and peace." It was the end of an era. Amy decided not to return to the farmhouse again. Instead, she focused on rebuilding her life, running her bakery, writing her memoir, and spending quiet evenings with Chris. Yet sometimes, when she drove past those familiar fields, she couldn't help but whisper a prayer. For forgiveness, for closure, for the years lost to pain. Matt, meanwhile, spent his days in silence. Letters arrived from fans, some forgiving, others furious. In his journal, he wrote one line over and over again. "I thought I was protecting my dream, but I destroyed it." And as the Oregon rain fell over the empty fields of Roloff Farms, the truth lingered like mist. A reminder that even the strongest legacies can crumble when honesty is replaced by ambition. Months passed after the verdict, and spring slowly returned to Oregon. The fields of Roloff Farms began to bloom again, but this time there were no film crews, no visitors, no staged family reunions. Only the quiet rustle of wind across the grass. Amy Roloff often said healing doesn't happen in headlines. It happens in silence, in long walks, quiet tears, and small, hesitant conversations. And that was exactly how the Roloff family began to mend. Zach was the first to reach out. One Saturday afternoon, he drove to the rehabilitation center where Matt was serving the remainder of his sentence. For weeks, he had resisted visiting, torn between anger and guilt. But something in him had shifted. He wanted closure. When he entered the visitor's room, Matt looked up, startled. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Zach said softly, "I didn't come to argue. I came to understand." Matt's voice cracked. "I never wanted to lose you, son. I just lost sight of what mattered." Zach nodded, tears forming. "Greater than you lost the farm, Dad, but you don't have to lose us." That single sentence broke the silence between them. Father and son sat for hours. No lawyers, no cameras, no bitterness. Just two men trying to rebuild something that once felt impossible to save. Meanwhile, Amy found her own kind of peace. She poured her heart into writing. Her second memoir, Fields of Forgiveness, became both therapy and testimony. She didn't write to expose or accuse. She wrote to release. "Greater than pain taught me strength," she wrote in one chapter, "and forgiveness taught me freedom." When the book launched, it became a bestseller not because it was scandalous, but because it was honest. Fans who once watched her on television now admired her resilience in real life. Karen, living quietly out of state, reportedly sent a letter to Amy months later, a private apology that Amy never shared publicly. Some wounds, she believed, were meant to heal in private. By the time Matt was released, the family had found a fragile peace. There were no cameras waiting, no grand reunion, just a quiet dinner at Zach's home. For the first time in years, they sat together at one table. The conversation was awkward at first, but when Amy smiled at her grandchildren, the tension melted just a little. Because in the end, Roloff Farms wasn't just land. It was a story, one built on mistakes, forgiveness, and the kind of love that refuses to die, no matter how deep the scars. Time passed, but the echoes of Roloff Farms never truly faded. The fields bloomed again, the fences were repainted, and laughter slowly returned. Yet, beneath it all, the wounds remained. Reporters moved on. TLC aired a final goodbye, the Roloffs, the end of the farm. It showed Amy baking, Zach coaching his kids, and one empty chair by the red barn. Amy's quiet words closed the episode. Greater than people see family and fame and think it's perfect. But behind every picture is a story of silence. After his release, Matt lived alone near the farm's edge, tending a few pumpkins each fall. Once he told a reporter, "Greater than I lost the farm trying to protect it." Maybe that's the lesson. Love can't be owned. Karen began a new life in Arizona, far from cameras and memories. Amy found peace too, her laughter warmer, her heart lighter. When talk turned to the farm, she no longer felt pain, only calm acceptance. "Greater than we can't change what happened," she once told her friends, "but we can choose what we carry forward." And maybe that's what Roloff Farms had become, not a monument to fame or success, but a lesson about truth, greed, forgiveness, and the cost of silence. Years later, the property was finally sold to a preservation trust. A small wooden sign was placed near the entrance. It read, "Greater than Roloff Farms, where family once grew." Visitors still stopped by occasionally, taking quiet photos, whispering stories of what happened here, the scandal, the trial, the heartbreak. But beneath it all, one question still lingered, echoing across the Oregon wind. Greater than was it betrayal that destroyed the Roloffs, or the secrets they tried so hard to keep? And with that, the story of Little People, Big World faded into history, not as a show about fame, but as a reminder that even the strongest families can fall when truth finally finds its voice. More update. Amy Roloff reveals shocking secret close to her heart. Matt Roloff breaks silence about his sad breakup. Roloff family reunites at Amy and Chris see adorable pics. And fans beg Amy Roloff, don't lower yourself to this nonsense. I will explain everything. Amy Roloff reveals shocking secret close to her heart. This year, celebrity mother Amy Roloff celebrated Mother's Day, but not all of her children were present. It is challenging for Zach and Tori to attend every family event because of their house in Washington. Mother's Day used to fall on Jeremy and Zach's birthdays, but this year it didn't. However, there was also a celebration of someone else's birthday. 4 years ago, on Mother's Day, Jeremy and Zach Roloff celebrated their birthdays. In addition to wishing mothers and grandmothers a happy birthday, the LPBW grandma took the time to wish herself a happy birthday. Although it's unknown exactly what everyone did that day, it's likely that they all got together at some time. 3 years ago, Jackson, one of Amy Roloff's grandkids, had an early birthday celebration. It coincided with both Jeremy's father's birthday and Mother's Day. Amy Roloff kept posting about her mother who passed away. It was unclear if there was a large party. On Mother's Day this year, Matt Roloff wished all mothers, including those who are not yet parents but hope to become so, the very best. He shared a picture of himself with Jacob Roloff and Karen Chandler on Instagram, along with his mother and Peggy. As they seated themselves at the tables, it looked as if a grand party had been planned. Amy revealed the real significance of Mother's Day to her fans. She told her fans that she never ever dreamed of having 4 kids. In the picture that the Little People, Big World actress shared online, Audrey and Jeremy were beaming. She also sent a picture of herself to Jacob and Jeremy. The TLC personality talked about Molly and other subjects in her extensive analysis. Amy claims that Tori and Zach did not attend this year's celebrations. Maybe it was because Jackson's 8th birthday fell on Mother's Day. His entourage also seemed to be in the capital of the country. After Tori posted pictures of Daniel, fans of Little People, Big World quickly wished him a happy birthday. Neither Amy nor Matt were mentioned in her post. Amy Roloff placed Mother's Day in the caption for her TLC fans. This has great meaning for me because I never thought I'd have the chance to become a mother. I tried my best to live up to the label, and it was an honor. Being a mother to 4 amazing kids and a grandmother encapsulates who I am. Jeremy and Jacob, 2 amazing young guys I call my bookends, are here with me. I saw some of my grandchildren, spent time with Chris and my boys, and went to see Zach and Molly. I praise the Lord every day and pray Him to bless them. Thank you for taking on the role of mother to me, my family, and I love all of you. Given that the LPBW actress stated that she talked with Molly and Zach over the phone, it appears that she may have done so. And when she mentioned a few grandkids, she was probably referring to Jacob and Jeremy's children. Matt Roloff breaks silence about his sad breakup. Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler of Little People, Big World recently broke up, which shocked many fans of the Roloff family. Matt had only recently brought up the split after everything that had happened. Then what was he arguing? Matt Roloff recently announced his separation from Karen Chandler to his Little People, Big World supporters. Although viewers have never been fond of Karen, many were taken aback when Matt revealed the split since they assumed the couple would be together indefinitely. After Karen excitedly showed off the ring to Matt's ex-girlfriend Amy Roloff, fans of the old Little People, Big World shows saw Matt pop the question to her. In actuality, a 2024 wedding in Hawaii was scheduled. However, that had to wait since Matt had a lot of work to do to care for his mother. At the time of their separation, Matt Roloff said he and Karen were friendly. According to a source from Little People, Big World, there are rumors that Karen didn't want to touch the matter and that it wasn't as amicable as Matt made it seem. In an interview he just posted on social media, Matt Roloff discussed his split with Karen Chandler. This split has been heartbreaking, Matt told his followers, and there have been a lot of adjustments. When things go wrong like this, It leaves a significant hole in your life, especially if you've been with as long as Matt and Karen. According to Matt Roloff, he is going to keep moving forward. One of the ways Matt is accomplishing this is by preparing for the fall harvest season. A key selling factor for Roloff Farms is the market with different vendors that customers can browse, as Jacob Roloff has remarked. To keep himself occupied and divert his attention from his personal sorrow, Matt seems to be engrossing himself in his work. After Matt Roloff recently came clean about his separation with Karen Chandler and his plans to move on with pumpkin season, the Little People, Big World fandom went crazy. In addition to sharing their thoughts and emotions on social media, many fans sent words of support to Matt, who was grieving. "Wow," they said. Immediately following that startling news on Monday morning, "I wanted to wish you both the very best. Chris is the sweetest guy, and I hope Amy is still with him. I truly admire him. Whenever life gives you lemons, turn them into pumpkins," another commenter said. And what do you think of what Matt Roloff said? Leave a comment informing us. Roloff family reunites at Amy and Chris see adorable pics. The most recent claims that have surfaced on social media claim that it was a Christmas family reunion with a Little People, Big World theme. Members of the Roloff family from all around the world visited Amy Roloff and Chris Marek at their house to bring them cheer and good news, as the photos show. After a while, official news broke that the long-running show Little People Big World was being canceled. Supporters of Little People Big World, however, guessed right away when Zach and Tori Roloff announced that they would be leaving after season 25. According to an informant, Matt Roloff was the only member of the Roloff family who wanted to see more Little People Big World seasons produced. They are thankful that the rest of the family no longer has to arrange their lives around a TLC filming schedule. The latest Little People Big World reports that circulated state that several branches of the Roloff family gathered at Amy Roloff and Chris Marek's home for a Christmas reunion. Many of the cousins enjoyed getting back in touch and spending time together. An image released by Amy Roloff even featured the Roloff wives, Tori, Isabel, and Audrey. A lot of Little People Big World fans enjoy how the family has been able to put aside their disagreements in order to spend Christmas together. The latest Roloff family Christmas get-together is notable since it was hosted by Amy Roloff and Chris Marek. The circulating photos of Matt Roloff and Karen Chandler do not feature them. The argument between Zach and Matt Roloff seems to be still going strong. However, the fact that the Roloff wives and relatives are coming together for this special occasion is heartening. Although some fences have not yet been mended, it looks like some are being worked on, and that's all anyone could really want in the end. Several branches of the Roloff family put aside their differences in order to spend time with the kids. On this specific holiday, many fans of Little People Big World are delighted about Amy's grandchildren. Fans beg Amy Roloff, don't lower yourself to this nonsense. Little People Big World has left television after 25 seasons, leaving viewers to wonder how the actors are surviving. According to recent reports, fans yelled and cried out for Amy Roloff to reconsider her business plan. How are individuals voicing their ideas? And what happened with this latest event? Following season 25, Little People Big World on TLC was formally canceled. This was what most people expected after Zach and Tori Roloff decided to leave the show and pursue other hobbies. But it took months before the news was officially announced. Most of the cast is glad that season 25 was the final one, according to fresh information from Little People Big World sources. For the vacation and the chance to work on other projects, many of them were thrilled. Matt Roloff seemed to be the only one who wanted things to continue. The final episode of Little People Big World has left many viewers wondering about the lives and careers of the group, who no longer get their regular TLC salary. The most recent announcement from Amy Roloff is the opening of an online store for a completely new product. Recent posts on TikTok indicate that Amy Roloff is attempting to sell a rotary cheese grater to her large following. In her video review, Amy gushed about the new gadget's culinary variety while demonstrating how to use it in her own kitchen. Many people criticized Amy Roloff for her role in the latest cash grab, involving a rotary grater. Even so, a lot of fans of Little People Big World agree that the group needed to find new sources of income now that the movie was over. While some viewers of Little People Big World made cheese jokes and puns, many thought Amy was beneath her for trying to sell this cheese grater. Since she will likely get a portion of the profits, many viewers believe she has no right supporting this grater. Oh, Neen readers said it was just anything to make some cash and not have to hunt for a real job again. She wants to sell intriguing books and movies on TLC and, of course, promote products on TT. Another person put it this way: well, her personality grates, so it's fitting. Amy, you don't have to lower yourself to this nonsense. Someone else had added, you don't need the money at all. No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.